With public cloud computing, the economies of scale work to the advantage of both the cloud service provider and the cloud customer or tenant. We'll explain why that is. The first consideration is that cloud service providers pool all of their resources in terms of IT equipment, things like network infrastructure equipment, storage arrays, servers to run virtual machines. All of that is acquired at a large scale, pooled together, and made available for use by cloud tenants. Now, because there are many paying cloud tenants, so in the tens or hundreds of thousands, it makes it very affordable for cloud service providers to acquire vast amounts of equipment to pool together to make available to the cloud tenants. The cloud tenants, as a result, aren't seeing a large investment on their part because they're only paying for their usage of those cloud services. So when it comes to capital expenditures or CapEx, that would apply to the cloud service provider or the CSP. The CSP has to determine how much physical compute equipment they need, and then it has to be ordered, it has to arrive in the data center, it needs to be configured and made available to cloud customers. Now, at the end of the day, when cloud customers are using cloud services, from their financial standpoint, it's an operating expense, an ongoing monthly expenditure to pay for the usage of cloud services. And of course, cloud tenants can take specific steps and be careful about their usage of cloud services to minimize how much they're paying on a monthly basis. So as an example, you don't want to leave databases or virtual machines running in the cloud if they're not being used because you're paying for them every minute that they're left running. So cloud tenant monthly usage fees are something that is considered an operating expense, and cloud tenants have the ability to use tools like the Azure pricing calculator so that they can estimate what they expect to pay. So by selecting the cloud services that a cloud tenant might expect to use, like virtual machines, storage accounts, databases, and so on, and then specifying the details for each of those, the cloud tenant can get a good idea about what it might cost per month to use Microsoft Azure cloud services. Now, with the international increase in cloud adoption, it means that there are more and more customers around the world that are demanding the use of cloud services in the Azure public cloud. And so, as a result, having more customers drives the need for more equipment, which makes the resource pools available for more customers. It's almost like a vicious cycle, but the cloud economies of scale do work out for both the provider and the customer. Most of us have probably had an experience of buying something in bulk, whether it's food, whether it's flooring, if you're doing household renovations or construction. Normally, when you buy something at scale in bulk, you get a discount compared to if you bought just a small number of units of that same item. And so cloud service providers would have the power then to negotiate better pricing deals with hardware vendors. You can imagine that if you're going to buy $1 million worth of rack mount servers all at once, as opposed to one rack mount server that might cost $6,000 or $7,000, you have more power to negotiate a discount or some kind of a better deal in some way. The other thing to think about is that on premises, if we were to acquire our own hardware, so it's a capital expenditure like servers, when the servers aren't being used, so if the utilization overnight goes down to 5%, we have still paid for that equipment, yet it's not really being utilized. And that's a benefit of cloud computing. You're only paying for what you're really using. So as a result of this type of situation, cloud service providers are aware of this waste, and they offer for sale the use of excess unused capacity, like compute capacity in data centers around the world. So Microsoft does this with Azure. This is called a spot VM. When you're deploying a virtual machine in Microsoft Azure, if you're not running a mission-critical workload, maybe you're running batch processing for a few hours and you need the compute horsepower to do it, you might consider deploying virtual machines as spot VMs to do it. Spot VMs allow you to use extra unused compute capacity in a data center at a discount compared to what we would normally pay for on-demand virtual machines. However, it's not guaranteed compute power. And what that means is that if we have paying customers paying the full price for virtual machines in our example, in that data center, once that extra compute capacity runs out, our spot virtual machines can be shut down. And that's why we don't want to run mission-critical workloads in them. So it's a game of balancing cost efficiencies with workload requirements. The other thing to think about is that cloud service provider data centers, so Microsoft Azure data centers, are designed to use a homogeneous data center configuration. Now that's both within and between different data centers. What this means is that the same type of equipment, the same type of configuration for that equipment is attempted to be adhered to streamline the process of making all of those resources available, pooled together, for use by cloud customers. And in some cases, automation is possible to configure newly acquired hardware, such as adding hypervisors to a cluster that would be available to run virtual machine guests in an Azure data center. Microsoft data centers can also realize some cost benefits with efficient data center designs and efficient hot and cold aisles to reduce heating, ventilation, and air conditioning costs. And in some cases, depending on the location in the world where a Microsoft Azure data center is situated, there could be some tax benefits. The other thing to think about are the network links linking these data centers together for the Microsoft Azure cloud. So this is done using multiple network providers around the world for redundancy, but also there is a negotiating power, again, when you are working with something you're going to buy in bulk or for the long term. So working with network providers to get the best possible deals for long-term commitment, network pricing, which in the end can benefit cloud customers because it's costing less for the provider. In some cases, it means it will cost less to use cloud services for the consumer.